YouTube family? This is that random YouTuber, the Golden Green Ranger, aka Jesse, coming with a different kind of video than I've ever done before. So, one, sorry the wife's not here. Miscommunication. She read the wrong book. Neither here or there, okay? Number two, thanks for clicking on this video, but I do think I have something exciting that I've never done before, just because, it's something I've never attempted before. But anyway, let's get a little backstory. Come in my little sitting, reading chair to share this with you. But Sunday, in my local town, we had what was called a fan con, which is really, really neat. They have, games and scavenger hunts and LARPing. There's cosplay and contests and wrestling, and it is just a really fun event. They do it almost every 2 years. And they do it up really, really big. And that includes bringing in vendors that sell different arts and they sell different knickknacks or different rare figurines and just stuff you would just never see before. So I was there. Of course, I was there. Anything geek, I'm going to be excited to go to. So I was there. I was dressed up in my big cosplay costume. I won third place in the costume cosplay contest, by the way. So, congratulate me. Thank you. But I kept walking around and seeing what the vendors were offering. And a couple times I walked by this, an author who was selling what looked like a couple different book series. I'm assuming his book series. And there was one book that I couldn't take my eyes off of, and I will show you why. It was this one, and it was just because how cool that cover was. And I kept looking, and I was like, I have to know what this is about. It just looked so interesting. So after probably the third or fourth time going back to his table looking, and now mind you, I'm in full cosplay. I'm dressed up like a serial killer. I'm not saying a word. I have a full mask on. He ends up saying, hey, if you're interested, I'll give you the 3 books in the series for a decent price. I'm one that always loves a good deal. So I said, well, actually, I didn't say anything because I was in character, but I nodded my head yes, and I purchased the 3 books in the series. Long story short, I finished reading Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Needed something new to read. Just so happened to be that day I finished Hitchhiker's Guide, so I said, oh yeah, I picked those books up. Let me, start this one. I'll give it a chance. I absolutely loved this book. It was I'm going to say pretty darn good. One, what a cool cover. I can't get over how amazing looking that cover is. But it's just a fun detective noir, story. So first off, I'm going to comment on how great the book looks. It's kind of got that pulpy, old magazine, look to it, which I thought was really, really neat. And, you really got to see it in person to really take in how cool looking this cover is. But it is a very simple cover, but at the same time, it has something that pops. So the book is called Weird Future, Murder in the Dark City. And it's written by Stephen Farkas. And I'm hoping I'm pronouncing his name correctly, by the way, just because I'm reading it off the book. But long story short, I had a lot of fun with this book. So it is not a difficult read. And as you guys probably can see, it's not a huge book. It's 91 pages. Not a very difficult read whatsoever. And I don't mean that as a knock to the story. I mean, as in, it's a fun, easy read, something you can probably knock out in a couple days or probably an afternoon if you got nothing to do and you just want to sit down and run through it. And honestly, that's what happened to me. Only reason it took 2 nights was because exactly that. I have to read at night after I get done work. And usually I only read for a few minutes until I feel tired. However, on the second night when I picked this back up, I said, I got to finish this because I'm actually really enjoying the story. So enough about how cool it actually looks. Let's get into the substance and the meat and potatoes of the actual story. So the story takes place in 2300. Robots were created to do jobs that human beings didn't want to do or too dangerous for human beings to do. And robots started to gain sentiency. Sentience? Is that the word? I don't know. Correct me in the comments. But personalities, basically. And they started getting the same traits that humans had, where they just didn't like doing the job. They got depressed, everything like that. So basically, any people with money and power and influencers made it that these robots not only lost their positions but basically became second class citizens. So it takes place well into the future, and it's got this, it's a very like dark city kind of like 1920s Great Depression version of America, and I don't want to get into why in the book it is, but it was really interesting the way he explained why America was in such a despair. But I could see why the setting was like that, because it's supposed to be that like 1920s feeling, Great Depression, things weren't going great kind of thing. But I really enjoy the story. So there's a character, it's right on the cover, named Blue Blaze, that was created to originally be a police officer robot. And after losing his position and everything like that, he ended up doing what came best to him, which was detective work. So in the book, they actually describe him as a now silver robot, because over time, over years, his coloring had faded, and that's why he was originally called Blue Blaze. But now, he's a very silver color. But he actually wears a trench coat and the detective hat, which I thought was such a nice touch. I really appreciated that, because it has that really old school detective kind of feel where, like almost while I was reading it, I had that like black and white picture in my head. But it was just, it's a fun read. And I know I've said that a couple times, but I can't compliment the book enough. The characters were just really neat, and they were very like old school character architects, archetypes. There you go. That's the word I was looking for. Where they kind of fit into those old detective stories, like exactly what I'm talking about, like the girl, the femme fatale of that story, or the underground bouncer of the club. But these roles were instead fit in by robots that had positions back in the day and now are living in this kind of underground society to make a living, to survive. And he even has fun playing with the names of these characters, because they're fitting these certain character types that are in these detective stories. And some people might look at that as a negative, but once I realized they was doing it, and I knew the minute I knew what he was doing with that character names was when I got to the butler's name, which I won't ruin, but I'm sure you'll figure it out if you're understanding where I'm going with the character names. But it was fun. It was, it was meant to feel like a 1920s pulp fiction detective noir story in the future with robots. I mean, there's humans in the story too, but the story is told from a robot's point of view. So it really humanizes these characters, and you really get behind these characters. It's ironic that the characters are, humanized in it, but a very simple read, and I don't mean that in like, oh, it's a simple book. Like, no, I mean as in when a character talks, you know which character is talking. It's very easy to understand. Like I said, there was never a period of time where, I don't know if you guys have ever been in this situation where I've read a page and then said, what the heck did I just read? There was never a period of time from that, because the book flows really well. It goes from one plot point to the next plot point to the next plot point. It flows really well. And it follows. I'm like 90% sure that Blue Blaze is in every, scene in the book. So because it's following his story, it goes from, one clue to the next clue, to talking to this person, to talking to this person. Well, this person knows this person. Well, this person might know what's going on with this. And it's both humans and robots he's working with to find out, who did this murder. Was it a murder? That kind of mystery. And not really a complex story. Like, I think it had a very logical ending. I wasn't like mind boggled at the reveal at the end, but I think sometimes a simple ending was the right choice. And in this case, it was the right choice, because I was reading the book and the whole time I was like, please don't be some crazy twist that I don't see coming. You know what I mean? Like, please follow that like simple, nice detective noir story. And that's exactly the way it ended, and I was pretty satisfied. I was like, okay, really neat. You kind of like leaned into the homage that you were trying to do in the first place, which was these old school stories. Not to say that the ending fell flat or anything. It was still a fun ending to the book, and it leaves you with the, okay, all right, I like that kind of like that old Western. All right, another day then for you, and it was a really neat ending, and it wrapped it up in a nice bow. Only thing I wanted to point out about this is there is some language in the book, just a bit, a couple of F-bombs throughout the book. I'm okay with that. It doesn't really bother me, but I wouldn't recommend it for young kids. This is probably good for like a high school kid, high school age kid, or adults, grown adult. Like I have a young teenager. I wouldn't want him reading this just yet. There is one, I don't want to say graphic scene, but there is one scene that does get into a couple of like we'll say risque things. So it definitely wouldn't recommend it for young readers, but maybe teenage to adult. But I think that's basically what I want to say. This, like I said, story wrapped up really well. Really fun story with cool characters. Like I said, I think I mentioned it earlier, but the author's name is Stephen Farkas. He sells these and some horror books I've looked up. This is the first one of a trilogy. I'm going to read the other two, and I'll do reviews on them, but I just wanted to get this review out for the first one while it was still fresh up in the noggin. And I'll get those other reviews out to you quick. So this one is called Weird Future Murder in the Dark City, a Detective Blaze story. I hope that's not the whole title. That's a long one if it is. But we'll call it Murder in the Dark City. But really neat. I'll put in the description a link to, if you're interested in buying this, and a link to the author in general. Yeah, you get my point. Just wanted to point out, like I said, really seemed like a really nice guy, and he also signed the book for me, so shout out to how cool that was for him to do, and he signed all 3 of the books, so, I think he's a great writer, so when he makes it huge and big and it's getting $1 million, I got my autograph book right here, so, or maybe he is making $1 million, I don't know, I mean, it was a decent book, I don't know the guy's finances. But either way, definitely check out the book. If you looking for something campy and fun, very old school to read, I think you'd enjoy it. If you're looking for short detective story, definitely recommend it. If you're going on a flight and you want to read something, there you go. If you're going to the DMV and you want to read something, there you go. Links down below. Anyway, if you like what you heard here, and hopefully you do, check him out. And also, like, subscribe, and comment. Thank you so much, guys, for watching these videos. I appreciate that. I feel the love. And as always, may the power protect you.